Hi everyone, today we're going to go through the mathematics portion of the HiSet exam free practice test FPT-6A. This is the practice test that's available online, and I also have it in the Google Classroom. When you get ready to go through the test, the first time I want you to go through it on your own. It comes with a formula sheet, which is the same sheet that you'll be given when you go to actually take the HiSet. And the directions for this practice test are that you should take about 45 minutes to answer the 25 questions. This says this is a test of your skills in applying mathematical concepts and solving mathematical problems. Read each question carefully and decide which of the 5 alternatives best answers the question, then mark your choice on your answer sheet. The way this is set up is that the problems are, it says there are relatively easy problems scattered throughout the test, which means that it doesn't necessarily begin easier and then gradually get harder. Instead, the questions are scattered around. So question number 2 may be a difficult question. Question number 4 may be an easy question. Question number 20 may be an easy question. So don't think of it as if it were in order from easier to more difficult. So we're going to assume that you've already taken the test and that you've gone through your answers to see what was correct and what was incorrect. Now what I'm going to do over the next few videos is I'm going to take you through all of the questions on the test and actually show you how to answer the questions and show you what you need to be looking for. So question number 1 is a word problem. And with word problems, you have to understand that they're going to have some words in the problem that are not necessary to solving it, but you also have to read it very carefully word for word because the information that's in the question is always going to be really important. Also, as you're looking at word problems, glance through the list of answers to see what the range is and to kind of figure out how to approach the problem. So with this question, we have answers that range from $190 all the way up to $1,200. So that lets you know that that's going to be a pretty big difference between the answers. So we have to figure out exactly what's going on with these numbers here. So what I have done is, I'm going to move away from the test for a second. What I've done is I've taken this question and I've set it up in a whiteboard for us so that we can work through the problem together. The question says, computer salespeople at a local store earn a $100 commission per computer for the first 5 computers they sell. For each additional computer they sell during that month, the commission per computer is 1.5 times the rate for the first 5. Which of the following is the total commission earned by a salesperson who sells 8 computers in a month? The first thing that you have to do is figure out what you're going to do with these numbers. So what we know to start with is that our salesperson is going to earn $100 for the first 5 computers. So the first 5 computers will be paid at a rate of $100 for the first 5. That means that our salesperson is going to earn at least $500. So keep that in mind as you look at the answers that are provided. The answers provided are $190, $800, $950, $1,050, and $1,200. We already know then that that answer number A, 190, is not going to be a correct answer. So you can take that one and you can eliminate it. Now we know that we've sold 5 computers at $100 each. Now what happens is the next 3 computers we're going to sell at 1.5 times the rate for the first 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our 100, which is the rate for each of the first 5 computers, and we're going to multiply it by 1.5. So I'm going to bring up the calculator to show you how it will work. 100 times 1.5. That gives us $150. The $150 is for each of the next 3 computers because our salesperson sold a total of 8 computers. So we have the first 5 where he made $500, then we have the next 3 where he made $150 each. So we're going to take that 150, multiply it by 3, and we're going to get 450. So his total commission for the 2 sets of computers would be $500 for the first 5 plus 450 for the next 3. So if you look at your answers, I'm going to bring up the calculator for you. We're just going to add those two together. You can probably do this in your head, but I'm going to do it on the calculator anyway. This is going to show us that our answer should be C, $950, and it shows us how we got that answer of C. So if you got a different answer, I want you to think about what you did to get the different answer. Some of the mistakes that I've seen are taking this $100 and saying that that was the total price for the first 5. Instead of counting it as 500, people counted it as 100, and then they counted this as just 150. So they ended up getting $250, which isn't one of the answers. So several people said, well, 190 is close to 250, so I'll take that answer. You have to be careful, because with these problems, they're not going to give you an answer that's close to the correct answer unless they're talking about averaging something or estimating something. So in this case, if you were to have come up with a number that's much smaller than or much larger than the numbers given but not exact, that means there's some sort of mathematical error. So it's always best to go back and check what you did to be sure that you counted the first 5 computers at $100 each, giving you the 500, and then also that you counted the next 3 at $150 each, giving you the 450. When you add those two together, like I said, you should end up with $950. So the second question that is listed on this test is scatter plot. Scatter plot is one of those things that unless you have a complete understanding of it, it's difficult to just look at the question and try to figure it out. But this actually isn't a question where you have to do any mathematical functions. Instead, this is a question where you just have to understand what scatter plot is and how scatter plot works. So I'm going to explain that to you looking at these answers real quickly so that you can see exactly what it is that they're doing with this particular question. So this question is, which line would best fit the data shown in the scatter plot? We're looking at the line right here, because what we have on scatter plot is we have X and we have Y. Sorry, Y is up and down, X is left to right. So we have the X and Y axis on each one of these things. So what I want you to look at is I want you to look at this line right here. The way scatter plot works is that the line that's drawn should go straight through the middle of all the little dots that you see. So there should be an equal number of dots, approximately, on the top of the line and an equal number on the bottom of the line. So I want to look at choice B. Choice B has dots that are mostly above the line. Choice C has dots that are mostly above the line. And if you'll notice, as I'm hovering over this, it kind of gives us a little bit of an explanation about things, but I want to try to explain this to you without having to read these long paragraphs that are attached to each one of the questions, or each one of the options. So C has a line where there are mostly dots above it, and then D has a line where it kind of looks like it's sort of even. E has a line where most of the dots are below. So we're going to have to make a choice then between A, which looks like this, and D, which looks like this. So if you look through these, actually what they tell us is that 8 points are scattered throughout that are above the ray, and 9 points are scattered throughout that are below the ray, and 1 point is actually on the ray. So D is going to have more of the dots scattered more evenly. And let's look at what they have to say about A. A says the first 8 points are on the scatter plot On the left from below the ray, the 9th point is above the ray and the 10th is on the ray. The next 8 points to the right are all above the ray. So that's explaining these right here. So what we're actually going to go with on this one is we're going to go with D, because the line cuts more evenly through the center of what we have with our scatter plot. Now if you're unsure about scatter plot and how it works, there's a lot of information that you can find on scatter plot online. So what you can do is you can go to scatter plot, and I really like using Math is Fun. It's a good website. And it tells us that a scatter plot shows the relationship between two sets of data. And what it is that we're trying to get to with these is we're trying to find a line that shows what's called a trend line. It should go as evenly through the data as possible. Each one of these little dots represents data that was discovered. This has to do with sales and temperature. And the line going straight through the middle is the trend line, which is the same thing that we see right here with this line. So our answer for this one is going to be D, because it more evenly goes through those different dots. So now the next question that we have is going to take us to a coordinate plane, and we're looking at the values of x with the graphs of f of x equals x and g of x equals x, and we're trying to see where those things intersect. To be able to understand how to answer this question, you have to know how to read it. What they're actually asking you here is, in a standard xy coordinate plane, for what values of x will the graphs of the function of x equals absolute value of x and the g of x, which is like saying the function, equals the absolute value of x, intersect? What they're asking you here, let me go to my other page and I will show you what it is that they're asking. So what they're asking here, let me erase this. Whenever we're dealing with xy coordinates and we're dealing with a situation where we are looking at things that are on an xy plane, they're asking at which point, where on this graph will 2 points intersect if the x is at a certain place, the f of x is at a certain place, and the g of x, let me find another color, is at that same place. Basically pretend like those are right on top of each other. I drew them where they were close so that you can kind of see. So if the function of x is equal to the absolute value of x, then what that means is that x is basically equal to x. So that's what we have with the blue dot, is that x is equal to x. With the red dot, we have the same thing, except instead of using the function of x, they're using the g of x, which is the same thing. And they're basically asking, when x is equal to x and x is equal to x, where are those two x's going to intersect? And the answer is anywhere, because it doesn't matter where I put the x. If x is equal to x, they're going to intersect at the exact same point. So for this answer, what we're going to do, let me go back to it, your answer should be all real numbers x, because anytime you have an x, it's going to be equal to an x. It's not going to change its value, and if it does change its value, then this one will also change its value, which means that these two are always going to have the exact same value as each other, because if this one changes also. So all real numbers x will be where these two intersect. Now we're almost out of time for this video, so this is going to be video number 1, and I'm going to pick up with question number 4 in video number 2.